I'm Bill Story of the Olderhood Group, and today I'm pleased to welcome our Chief Operating Officer, Robin Trimingham. Hi, Robin.
Hey, Bill. How are you doing today?
Robin is a weekly columnist on Bermuda's national newspaper, the Royal Gazette. Her articles are shared around the world and get some rave reviews both domestically and internationally. So we started this new series called The Ozone, where we chat to Robin about some of her recent articles. So, Robin, let's get started. So, how brave are you? I mean, bravery is a term usually reserved for warriors or first responders or brave hearts, perhaps. So, are you saying that we need a new definition or a new understanding of what it is to be brave?
In the modern era, we have a lot of things going on with the pandemic. And of course, nothing of what I'm about to say is in any way to diminish the absolutely fantastic work being done by all of our first responders. But what I want to suggest here is that the rest of us need to find a way to be brave in our own way, in our own lives, for the betterment of humanity as well. We can't look at bravery as being somebody else's responsibility with everything that's going on and the rapid way in which the world is changing. So what do I mean by that? Well, I was doing some research online during the past week, and I came across a quote that I just loved. And it was actually on a website that was giving sample essays for students. And it said, bravery is taking a risk to give something of yourself in order to make life easier for another. And I think that's the way that we all really need to start thinking about bravery at the current point in time.
So you think then that bravery is not only for the individual, in other words, bravery within yourself. You know, I've done something and I was pretty brave about doing that. Are you suggesting that bravery perhaps has two pieces to it? The other piece being brave or helping other people in situations, dilemmas, perhaps trauma situations, that you just have to, take the bull by the horns, if I can say it that way, and do something which some people would classify as being brave, but you just did it to help that person.
Bravery is about being selfless on the individual level. Because if you think of it, is it possible for a selfish person to ever be brave? No, it isn't possible, because in a moment that a normally selfish person does something brave or noble, they've actually been selfless in the moment. And that's the point here. It means being willing to do something that's right, even when it's unpopular, even when it's scary, even when it seems like you have no chance or the obstacles are insurmountable, that you're going to do it anyway because it needs to be done, and it is how that we shape the world for the betterment of all.
So do you think that the pandemic has changed the way that we look at bravery, or perhaps has it changed the way that we should look at bravery?
The pandemic has changed everything, but what it's really bringing to light, and I think we're starting to see this in pockets around the world, is that we all have a role to play in shaping what our future life is going to be like, what it's going to be like for our children, for our grandchildren going forward. There's a lot of debates going on, pro and con vaccine, pro and con different health policy, travel policy, and it really doesn't matter where you stand on these issues. What we all have to do is work to figure out what is the best way that is going to work for the most people possible. There's no sense here in being selfish and saying, I want the world just how it works for me. it has to be a world that works for everybody. And in order to get to that place in time, it's going to be a little painful. There's going to be fearful things to overcome, and we're all going to have to be brave and work on this together.
Do you think there are obstacles or reasons why we choose not to be brave in given situations? Are there things that hold us back? In other words, we may think, I should do this, or I should go and help, or I should do that. But there's a holdback, there's a drawback. You don't do it. There's an obstacle. What would be an obstacle to actually being brave in a given situation?
What's really going on here is these are all self-doubts that we have placed upon ourselves. We say, I'm not going to do this because I'm afraid. I'm not going to do this because it's too hard. I'm not going to do this because I don't want to. There's always an I in that statement. There's never a sense of, we've really just got to get up and get on with this. What I would say is, if you can't be brave at the moment, and it's very hard to be brave, especially with so many unknowns, at least be patient, because bravery is nurtured by patience. And what I mean is, it's not necessarily ever going to be the same again, but it is going to get easier and easier to be brave.
I think some people, I suppose, disregard their own fear. I remember quite a number of years ago, there was a plane crash coming out of one of the Washington airports, and the plane went down in the Potomac.
Yes.
And it was near a bridge, and it was winter. It was real cold. And, people could see from the bridge the plane and people trying to get out the plane, etc. And I remember one guy in particular, he just didn't hesitate. He just climbed up on the parapet of the bridge. He just jumped in, to save somebody. And he did. And he was okay. But, the fear issue in that situation, he just disregarded it. He just said, I need to help somebody. I'm going to go in. Let's go in. And in he went.
In that moment, the person was selfless on an altruistic level, but also possibly making a decision that we wouldn't want people watching this video to necessarily rush out and make. I don't think that we're going to get terribly far if we have everybody jumping off bridges. What I'm saying is that you have to take a patient, measured, step-by-step, chip away at the problem a little bit at a time approach. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, and I think bravery, I wouldn't say it happens necessarily every day, but I do think it happens regularly. I think there are situations where we're all involved in different things where it may not be by pure definition of the word brave, but it may be something that you're maybe not too keen on doing. Maybe you do want to hesitate, but you say, I just got to do this. I just got to get on with it. And I think sometimes, we find ourselves in situations when we look back and say, well, I'm glad I did that. Perhaps if I had to do it all over again, I maybe wouldn't do it. But anyway, thanks very much, Robin. That's about all we have time for. So join us again in the Ozone, where we'll be chatting to Robin Trimingham of the Olderhood Group. Take care, everyone. Bye.